too late now.
You didn't flip it.
Why are you blaming me? There you go. We're flipped.
Because I've got to blame someone.
Okay.
So we're here with Kelvin Rocketman the Fox. we got some fantastic feedback from the interview last night.
Awesome.
But a couple of comments I got was, who was that man behind that fox mask? and I felt like I owed it to you to at least maybe reveal his real identity. It's sort of like Kiss unmasked. You know?
Yeah, right. Sometimes I prefer to be masked. You just want to stay in the background, right?
But in all seriousness, I also had quite a few comments, and a few people text me that this morning saying, they really love to hear more about the AI stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
And
really interesting stuff.
Yeah. And so I thought maybe you could tell us about your AI project now and what you've been doing, and how that's evolved. And
Yeah. Well, AI for me is just snowballing at the moment. There's a whole bunch of projects we're working on. I kicked off a startup about 2 years ago. It's still struggling its way along, as I guess a lot of startups do, in terms of sort of getting that traction with our travel agent customers. But we're using recommendation engines to build personalised travel. So to pick out a person and build a unique holiday that matches all the things that they want in a holiday, right? So a bit like Netflix, what movies best suit you in terms of your preferences. Well, we do it for all the things that should be in a specific holiday for you. So
like, how would that work? Like, just so in layman's terms, if I'm on a website and I'm looking to go and travel, how would this work?
Well, we're doing a rollout at the moment for Discover Queensland. So first of all, you say, look, I'm interested in a trip to Queensland. So we do a fun quiz, a bit like a BuzzFeed quiz about, well, what are the kinds of things you're interested in? Not specifics about, I want to stay at this hotel, but more about what are the things you would take on your holiday? What accessory? Would you take a book? Would you take sunscreen? Would you take your thongs? And then other aspects. What do you like to eat in the evenings? Do I like sort of Asian food, or am I just cheap and nasty takeaway? And so we just ask about 10 or 12 questions, and it takes about 2 minutes. And then from that profile, then we start to build. Not only we start off saying, well, where should you go? Should I go to Port Douglas or Cairns or Gold Coast or Longreach and things like that, suiting your trip? But then once you're there, what hotels should you stay at based on your preferences? Where should you go out to eat? What bars should you go to? Should I go parasailing? Should I go, scuba diving and things like that?
So does that feed that information to you and say, hey, you like this, so you sort of think you would like that? Or is it?
That's right, yeah. Well, with AI, it uses a multitude of things to actually rate it. So initially, the initial personalities. An expert travel agent might go in and initially train it with some initial data about, if you're like this person, this is the kind of bespoke holiday I'd build for you. But then as people start booking the items themselves, then we start saying, well, a person like you, this is what they booked, and you're probably really going to like those things because they're just like you.
Right. And so I think one of the things that is a bit mystified for some people is, machine learning and AI. So why do we always talk about them in the same context?
Yeah, look, the language is not good in this space. Right. There's a lot of debate about, is intelligence really artificial? Is the intelligence really even going to look like a human? When we've got all this data, it's not actually the same thing a human would do, because, a human wouldn't use as much detailed data in making those decisions as a computer would do. Right. But behind AI, machine learning, for me it was a big change. I was a software engineer. I used to program the rules. So like I said, in defence, we'd write a rule about what a missile would do depending on the condition. If this, do that. If not that, do something else, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that with machine learning. Machine learning, you feed it data and it learns what decision it should do in that point,
right,
based on what the data is saying.
Right. So does that mean that the more data that you give it, like feed it, the smarter it gets?
Definitely. The success now with AI, with like last year Google put out a new translation engine using deep learning, where before they'd had people program the rules, like translating from...
So deep learning, shallow learning?
Yeah, deep learning, again, it's the amount, how deep the network is in, they're using artificial neural networks. So the old days, these things were really shallow. They didn't have too many neurons. Our human brain's got like 300 billion neurons. and they're building really small models with maybe 1,000 neurons, so compared to the size of the brain.
Right.
But with the advances of cloud, we're able now to build really big neural networks, and this is what they call deep neural networks.
Right, I see.
So they take a lot of computation, but with the cloud we can run all that computation in the cloud.
Right.
But also they need a lot of data to train it because they're so deep, for it to optimize itself.
So do you think the advancement of that technology with AI and machine learning is sort of inhibited by the access to those quantums of data? And how important is the quality versus the quantity?
In AI, the competitive advantage is data and data and data.
Right.
So all the algorithms are all shared by everybody. So if Google finds an improvement in the algorithm, they publish that openly, and then the next day Facebook will take that improvement and put it into their algorithm.
Right.
So they share all the algorithms, but the sort of a competitive advantage is, they say, is two things in AI: data and talent, having the best talent in your team to actually use this stuff.
Right. So you would think that, does that mean that people like Facebook and Google that have been collecting quantums of data over a period of time are well...
they've got a significant advantage, right? A really significant advantage.
Right, okay.
So, this is the thing, though, is that everyone is scrambling to find data.
Yeah.
So there's going to be so much value for companies just to have data and access to data.
So I guess, in your product with the travel product, I mean, that's a nice consumer product, and it's a commercialisation
That's
opportunity. Right. But from what you've seen around in some of the applications and where they're using it.
Well, this is the other areas of AI that really fascinate me, and I'm struggling to balance my time between projects. My real passion's in healthcare.
Yeah.
So using AI to actually help people live healthier lives, right? So working at the hospital, we're getting now access to very large data sets from, say, intensive care, where they're collecting data automatically, like 300 heart rate measurements a second, your entire stay. So there's no manual observations in intensive care.
Right.
Everything's in the data. We're getting access to now all that data, where now we can build AI models that can look at all your bio signals that are coming off you at like 300 measurements a second. We can use that now to predict, are you going to survive in 48 hours? Or if we apply this treatment, is that going to give you a better chance of survival? Or if we apply another treatment, is that going to give you a better chance of survival?
So I'm not saying that the travel thing's not a problem worth solving, but
that's right.
That's a good commercial opportunity, but that's a problem worth solving, isn't
That's
it?
right. It's an experience problem that's great.
Yeah.
But equally, I think the real sort of moonshots are in the healthcare space, right? I think in terms of the biggest change in people's lives we can make with AI is going to be in healthcare.
And so is there one thing to leave us with that you've seen in some AI or in all the reading that you've seen that you've thought, wow, that is pretty cool? Is there?
Yeah, look, I think in the last 2 years we've started seeing like Google DeepMind win AlphaGo and winning at Atari games. I think the potential of those algorithms, and when we drop them into things like driverless cars and things like that, it's the wow.
Game changer,
it is really game changing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Man, you're awesome. Thanks again for talking to us.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So give us a shaka. Talk to you again.
Cool.
Thanks, mate. See you guys.